Hey everyone, welcome to the March meeting for PT Council. My name is Jennifer Foreman, and I am the co-president of PT Council this year. Zareen Hussein, who is waving, is co-president this year with me and my partner in crime. Welcome, everyone. Oh, good. Rebecca found her way in. So we have a bunch of stuff that we're going to be talking about today. And what I wanted to do was just link to our agenda in the chat. So if you want to take a look at that, you can do that. So I'm going to just, while I'm talking to you, I'm going to find my agenda and copy the link and paste it in the chat here so anybody can just take a look at it so you know what we're doing today. We do have a few guests here today. First, and I think we just have to decide what order we're going to do depending on what is going to happen, because I know Olympia Della Flora is not going to be able to join us until closer to 8, although we now have Amy Baldati and Mike Fernandez here, so I don't want to take up all of your time by waiting until 8. So I don't know what you guys want to do, but suggestions or...
Well, I think Olympia also said she might be late, so I don't know if she'll definitely be here at 8 o'clock, so I'd be happy to
I think
now answer questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So first, before I turn it over to the associate superintendents, who are our wonderful guests, our first guests tonight, I am going to ask, I saw Paula somewhere. I'm going to put you on the spot, Paula. Oh, there you are. I see you, Paula. Do you have a treasurer's report?
No, I didn't know I had to prepare one.
Okay.
So,
sorry.
that's okay.
I think the only thing there was just one school last time that had not paid their dues. So we just needed to verify that they've been able to do that. And I think the scholarship committee needs to know what the final amount is that schools have contributed to the scholarship fund so that they know how much they can distribute. So at some point, we'll just need to get those numbers, but sorry to put you on the spot there, but okay, thank you. One of the things we're going to be talking about today is the openings that we have for the executive board for next year. And I know many of you who are on your own school PTOs or PFOs or whatever your school calls them, are thinking about, inviting people to your executive boards to join you for next year as well. And we have a wonderful speaker who's going to help us think about how to invite, reach out to a more diverse group of parents, parents who more accurately reflect the diversity of our school district, to participate and fully participate on the executive boards. So we're going to be moving to that part of the agenda later tonight. But before we do that, I'm going to ask Amy Baldati and Mike Fernandez to give us some updates on how things are going with our school district.
All right, Mike, you want me to start?
Go ahead, Baldati.
All right, I'll do elementary. Let's start there because there's lots to celebrate. As I'm sure you are all aware, we did reopen our elementary schools on Wednesday. So today's day 2 to full return for all of our hybrid students. And that went amazingly well. There were lots of tears yesterday, but really they were like tears of overwhelming emotion as we welcomed kids back in full time. teachers very excited to see full classrooms again, and students reunited who hadn't seen each other in a year in many cases. And things have gone very, very well. Traffic seems to be the only real concern, and that knowing that we've asked parents to drive as much as possible, we expect that, and we're prepared, to support our schools in thinking about different ways to handle traffic if it continues to be a problem. But sometimes that kind of works itself out as the weeks go on. So we'll see if that similar pattern happens here with our reopening. But there's ways to deal with the traffic too. We can stagger some things and figure that out. So we will continue to work on that and assess that with our principals. But again, overwhelmingly, really, really positive. Something that still we are working on is now we do have quite a few DTLA parents at the elementary level who have expressed a desire to return their students back into 5 days a week. And so we started the discussion today with our elementary principals. Well, I wouldn't say we started it. We've already talked about it, but really started digging in and planning for that now that we've made a really smooth transition. And we will be starting Monday to communicate with our DTLA families to try to get a sense of how many really are interested in that option. So that's kind of where we are with our elementary schools. Does anyone have any questions about that? And then I'll let Mike take over he can explain where we are for middle school. Okay. No questions? All right, Michael.
Hi, everyone. Good to be here. Yep, middle school, we're getting ready to open next week. I think, as you know, you should have received a communication just recently. All secondary staff have the opportunity to get vaccinated this weekend on Saturday. So we have set a remote learning day for Monday for all of our middle schools and high schools, just because we did learn that a lot of our teachers experienced pretty significant side effects from the vaccine last weekend. So we wanted to take that precaution. The last thing we want is kids coming back into school and not having enough teachers to cover classes. So Monday's a remote learning day for all middle and high school. And then Tuesday is going to be the planning day for middle school, the final planning day, not that they're planning, but putting final touches on getting classrooms ready and being ready for the return of all of our middle school students on Wednesday. We just had a meeting, I think yesterday, with our principals just to do a final, check-in with them to see where they were, and they are ready to go. They've been working with their staffs closely to ensure we have all the health and safety protocols in place. They're doing some staff development. I know, just talking to one of my principals just a few minutes ago, she's doing some work tomorrow with staff, and then again on Tuesday, obviously. We also created a phase 5 reopening 100% for hybrid students document for middle school that was just shared with them that they're going to be reviewing with the staff, which will then be going out to parents this weekend or Friday in Dr. Lucero's communication. So middle schools, we're ready. They're ready. Administrators worked really hard. Teachers worked really hard. I think we're in a really good place. We've worked very closely with the health department as well to make sure that we have all the appropriate health and safety protocols in place. And I think kids are excited to come back in middle school as well.
Thank you. Any questions while we have our associate superintendents here?
So let us just give an update of where we are with high school, because that is still really in the planning stages. I know some of you, I recognize some of you from our meetings last evening. We did hold our listening sessions for our high school. We had staff followed by students, followed by parents who speak English, and then parents who speak Spanish. So we had quite the long listening tour last evening, but very well attended at all levels. Lots of great questions. And this is really still at the planning stages. We have a plan that we have sort of put out to the public, to all stakeholders, staff, students, administrators, parents at this point, that seems as if it may be the best viable option. So lunch, as you can imagine, feeding lunch to 1,800 students or so at West Hill and about 1,400 at Stamford High in a short window of time becomes very problematic to do that safely in a pandemic where we want students to be as far apart as possible. This is obviously a time when they have to have their masks off. And when you make it too tight, there's concerns about kids turning and talking and even knocking over things as things get too tight. So we're really struggling with the lunch. So the high school administrators actually came up with an idea to do a early release. It's not an early release because our early release time is usually 11:45, but thinking about more of a 1 o'clock-ish release for high school students that would grab a lunch on their way out and go home at that time. And so what that really does is probably shave off about 40 or so instructional minutes because the other time would have been in lunch in school. So we would reduce classes from about 48 minutes right now to 43, but the trade-off would be that students would be in school every day. And then students who need additional support, students who maybe are working in credit recovery programs, students who have sports or other activities after school would stay at school. We could seat those students in the cafeteria now that is set up for 6 feet apart and have those students then have some either extra support or some quiet study time before their activities would start at 2:05. So that's an idea that we have floated and received a lot of questions and have received feedback and a lot of feedback going.
Moving along.
Hopefully, yeah, we're just moving forward. Let's say.
Likely.
Yeah. Hoping that we don't have more quarantines, but we'll cross
Yeah.
that bridge when we come to it.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's nice to see everyone. Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. So before we move on, I did forget to remind everyone if you could if possible, if you could rename yourself so that we could see your full name as well as the school that you represent if you are at a particular school. That would just be helpful since we're not taking attendance. We just like to get a sense of, who all is here. And if you don't know how to do that in Zoom, you just go to the upper right corner. If you're on a computer, click the three dots and there should be a rename option. Or if you're on an iPhone or an iPad, you can go down to participants. Okay, so really the rest of the meeting, and I just wanted to note that I put a whole bunch of links in our chat. I just received a bunch of flyers about upcoming events. Most of them are happening in March. So I did want to share them with you since we've already sent out our March newsletter. But if you look in the chat, there are, and I think this magical free virtual magic show, which looks pretty cool, is tomorrow. So, if you have kids who like magic, there's some free entertainment for you tomorrow night. So, try to copy those and paste those and send them out to your parents so that they know what's going on too. All right. So, sorry, it's been a long day. to get us thinking about how we can reach out to parents that we don't normally see on these boards. So I've invited Michael Hyman, who I saw earlier today, although I don't know if you saw me because it was a webinar. So, and he's had a busy day, I'm sure, because there's a lot going on today in Stanford. But Michael Hyman, I'm not sure I'm going to do justice in introducing you, but he works for Domus. Do I have that correctly?
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I first met him when I started participating in some of the, I guess maybe I first met you on the Family and Community Engagement Advisory Group, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so maybe a little over 10 months ago or so, and then as part of the Stanford Stands Against Racism series, Mr. Hyman has been a key participant, not even a key leader in this wonderful project that our executive board has signed on to. And I'm just really not speaking very eloquently tonight, so I apologize. But I wanted to invite Mr. Hyman here to kind of talk to us about some things that he might help us think about, so that we could reach out and be more inclusive with our executive boards.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. And in this particular instance, I do have to tell you that certainly in school buildings and in community centers, I might be Mr. Hyman, but Michael is just fine. So that we don't stand on any other formality. My father's not here, and we can do away with that for the moment. I do want to thank you all for inviting us to come. I'm here with Diana Negron, who is with me tonight. She is also a leader within Stanford Stands Against Racism, but she's also the most important thing I think she does, and she can correct me if I'm wrong about it, but as a parent, guiding her sons and her family in a very important way as the most important advocate in their lives, I think is so important. And I see some other people around the screen who have had a long day too. So I'm not going to take a long time. Judy, it's good to see you after I think we've been in probably 3 or 4 of these things over the past couple of days. But it is important. I do thank you for inviting us and allowing us to come and talk with you, but hopefully to collaborate with you, to conspire with you about some good works within Stanford and the work that you all want to do. Certainly there are things that are the equal of, but I don't think anything is more important than the work that we do as parents with our children, guiding them, working to ensure that they have or they can secure an enriched education. It is the thing that if parents won't make it happen, if the community won't make it happen, our children's lives are desperately affected by it. It begins in our home, certainly. It begins with our parents who are the first teachers. And then it moves to the commitment that you might have with, or all of us, I believe, have with working with the schools and with educators, that we want them to succeed because we want our children to succeed. I mean, that's simply it, that we're their first teachers and we want the teachers who come after us to make sure that our kids are there. That's important for all families. I mean, I meet people from all backgrounds, all religious persuasions, colors, ethnicities, and they all want the best for their children. It's possible to do that, and it's possible, I see, through the work that you all are doing. I had a chance to look at your bylaws and the changes that you've made in them to reflect the work towards equity. I was just so pleased that there are a group of people who are thinking and leaning into the wind and saying, yep, there are some concrete things that we can do to reflect what we believe should be happening in our community. And so I want to applaud you all for doing that part of it, making sure that that's happening. It's important that students, parents, teachers, administrators, the Board of Ed, civic organizations, and the business community all join us in the effort to provide a good education for our children. And as much as we want all of those stakeholders to be at the table, let's face it, part of the reason we're here tonight is to talk about that there is a challenge at getting some people to be involved within the system at the schools. And it's not for any one reason, but there are some things that we can do to entice, encourage individuals to take part in being a part of PTOs at the school level. And I think that it's incumbent upon those of you who are here already to help try to figure out what works for the PT Council to make that happen. One of the things that you've done here is that I did also see something that I thought was phenomenal. And it was your assessment your cultural differences assessment, Jennifer. I would suggest, I don't know how you all developed it or where you got it from, but it is something that many other organizations should be using to make that self-assessment of where they are. No one can come in and tell you this is what you've got to do, because it's got to be grown. You have to have that consensus within your own organization that this works for us, and we can actually deliver on it. But that was an excellent way to go. So when you've added together your bylaws and what you've looked at there with the intentionality of that you've looked at your cultural differences, that you've got a way of making some type of an assessment that people can begin to talk about. You're light years ahead of others in thinking about this. The idea of going after people to join becomes one of those things where you need to know where you stand first. And apparently, I think that you all are getting there to that point. But I would ask you, though, to consider, and want to spend most of the time in just simply talking about, once you've done the assessment, once you've changed your bylaws and you're ready for action, I would say, hold up, don't do it yet. That you need to have a conversation around what is the narrative? What's the reason for the people that you want to bring onto the board? And how will you approach them to tell them that you want them to be a part of it? I think that a lot of folk can tell you that if you simply approach a Black person or an Hispanic or Latinx person or someone from any other part of the city and say, well, I need you to join because we're looking for Black people, that won't work. It absolutely won't. Well, there may be a few people who will join initially, but they won't stay and it won't stick. What people join for is a sense of mission and the cause, and they stay around because they feel as though they belong. Now, the most intimidating time I have ever been a part of some group was being a part of the PTA in Michigan. And so I went. My wife was not able to be a part of it, and I joined, and I was the PTA dad. It was the most intimidating thing I'd ever been through. You know, I'd been dressed down at a State Department affair on an occasion. It was nothing like going into a PTA meeting, and I'm not just joking about it. The people who were there knew what they wanted to do, knew how they wanted to do it, and they were just as tough as any business titan might have been. And so I want you to consider that as you reach out to people and allowing them to have a sense of belonging in your space, which should become their space as well, that you're going to have to think about what will it take. Think about what did it take for you to join and to raise your hand to be a part of the PTO. Think about what kept you around. What kept you around when you had a disagreement with someone about something? You know, not just those incentives that keep you around because you like being with a group of people, but why are you there? You need to think about your narrative, your collective narrative of what do you want to tell people as to why they want to join. Is it that a parent may say, well, we need, again, as I said before, we need more Black people, we need more Latinx people to join. And so therefore, you're really good. Why don't you come and join us? That, again, that won't work, but you've got to figure out what is the conversation that you would have. And even though we're in the COVID crisis, I would hazard a guess that some of you probably had coffee or lattes with someone to talk about being a part of the group. those are the same types of things that work on other individuals. You need to consider the time of day that your programs are offered or your meetings occur, because many people, as you know, are at work. That does not necessarily mean that every meeting has to be during the evening, or every meeting or no meetings can happen during the day. But you do need to consider what will work for those individuals that you're asking to join. And as a council, if you're looking at making this happen at the schools, it is certainly desirable to have this type of conversation with each of the PTOs and to get their buy-in, but to also hear what they think are the challenges to doing it too, and to work out what are the answers to help resolve those challenges that they might have. So if I would, I'm going to just ask if it's possible to open up the microphone and find out what are the reasons why you want to have others join. I know it sounds obvious, right?
I
But
could
what would-
answer, but I would love to hear other people's answers.
And everyone can mute and unmute themselves, so please feel
Yes.
free.
Mhm.
Well,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Amy.
Personally, I think that there's a huge portion of our population in the school that's just not being tapped into in terms of being involved. And like, I know I got involved because I wanted to have a connection with my child's education. And I think a lot of parents want that. And I just want to be sure that when our PTO does things for the school, does things for the students, that we're actually doing things that meet the needs of all the students whose parents aren't already saying this is what we should do. You know what I mean? Like maybe we're just not meeting every student's need because we don't know what those needs are because those parents aren't speaking to us.
Very good. Yep. Anyone else? So I did teach at Turnip River years ago. I learned the idea of just being silent for a while. I don't know if anyone will get nervous enough and decide to speak, but all right. Well, you all are very good.
Well,
it
here,
is-
Michael, I
Yes.
can actually speak.
Yes, Yolanda.
Hi. Yeah,
Hi.
so I joined because I didn't see I didn't see me on the board.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to have me represented. I wanted to have my daughter represented, and I didn't see that. And, you know, I still don't see it. And, you know, I'm even looking through who's on here now, you
Mhm.
know, and it's hard to see that, you know, I don't see me represented and the interests that that are uniquely mine, you know, and when I say mine, I'm talking about the culture, but that's the reason why I've joined. And, you know, I'm trying to get so active in the PFO and the PT council and whatever else, because I want my child to be represented and
Right.
people who and children who look like my child.
Right. Okay. But well said, Yolanda. But the reasons are, yes? Oh, Zara, were you going to say something? Yeah.
No, Judy has her hand raised. I'm sorry,
Oh,
I didn't
Judy,
mean to.
please.
Oh, hi. I wanted to say why I'm not part of the PTO at my son's school. Is that okay with you, Michael?
Yes,
Okay. The reason why I'm not part of the PTO is because of the hours. I don't have time to be there in the morning when they usually at the meetings. And also because I didn't really, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I didn't really feel welcome by the members of the PTO. And even when I try to help out at the events, like I was saying, really, even though I was trying to help out, like I didn't feel that everyone was, not everyone, but the majority of the president, I would say, of the PTO was that friendly to me. I tried my best to go around, but I felt like not welcome and that I didn't really belong there. And I think another issue might be, at least with the Hispanic community, maybe which we got to start from the bottom, teaching people what the PTO does. Like, don't think that everybody knows, because maybe everybody comes from different countries and they don't have that at the school. So we got to start from the bottom line, like teaching everyone what the PTO does, was like how the board works and all of that. And maybe people will get more involved and having more welcoming attitude towards people. And I think those are two things. And also the timing, like other meetings cannot be in the morning because not the majority of people have office hours. I'm not saying that they all need to be in the evening, but like what you mentioned earlier, Michael, I think we
Yes.
have to realize that some people, they like me, I don't get out of work until like 6:30. So for me to be in a PTO meeting will have to be after around 7 o'clock for me to participate. So that's all I had to say.
Now, at the direction and with the assistance of my administration.
Okay.
This is Diana Nagro, and I want to
Yes.
piggyback on what Judy said. And individuals feeling welcomed
Johnson & Johnson vaccine,
key
one shot.
is important. And I've had great success in the PTO, and I've had great failures. And I left the PTO resigning due to racism within people that were board members and because of behaviors and mannerisms that I was seeing. And my efforts in translations were applauded, and my efforts for setting up and cleaning up, I was fantastic. And the minute I took role as a president was when things became very difficult and there were unnecessary restrictions for me to be able to perform that job, a volunteer job. So I have limited time to dedicate, and so do the majority of the community that you're trying to do your outreach. So we want to make sure that this time is valuable for both parties and that it's worthwhile and it's interesting and engaging and they feel welcomed and a part of. And like Michael had shared, I also looked at your new bylaws, and it's great in writing. And I hope that it is implemented throughout all the PTOs and that we go back and revisit with the PTOs and get a real status update on what's going on. When you have people from the community that you're trying to outreach, attend events and volunteer at events, that we don't make comments like, what are we going to do with these people? Or the minute the new parent comes in to assume a role, that your main PTO people who have been doing this for a while walk away and disappear and don't engage. So those are key things. And if you truly want to reach out to our community and not make it look like you're trying to fill in a seat for a Latino or an African American or a Haitian, is that when you have parents volunteer just on regular events, right? Career day, if you're doing a movie night, if you're doing bingo, that you treat them with respect, that you welcome them, that you engage in conversation with them the same way you do with your neighbor, the same way you do with the rest of the members on the board. Just like Judy had stated, that she didn't feel connection with the majority of the people there. that will make anybody no longer be interested in being a part of, whether you're getting paid at a 9 to 5 or whether it's a volunteer opportunity. We need connection. And that's what the board members need to make sure that they're offering. And if they can't, then they shouldn't be a part of that board. And that's how you get diversity there. And don't make it this, you know, like I've heard before, where are the Black people at? Let's not make it that. Because that statement has been made by members of the PTO. It's about how do we include everyone? How do we make connections? How do we make people feel welcomed and engaged? And showing them respect would be the first step for any PTO or organization as well. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Diana, for your comments. And also, Judy, as you can see, these are our heartfelt, the desire to say that we're willing to step forward, but it's a sense of belonging. It's not just about the numbers of going out and finding someone, but it's about retaining them, building a relationship. This is not a transaction, but it's relationship building that is so important to make things like this work. This is certainly a challenge. And if you're actually going out and finding folk, you want to be able to keep them. And because if you don't, then what will happen is that people will walk away. And part of the narrative that they will take with them was that I was at a particular place and this is what happened to me, don't bother doing it. So you don't want that to happen for all of your good efforts that you're going to put forward to find people and to bring them in. You want it to stick. And to get it to stick means having the honest conversation with folk about, listen, think about how you would feel if you're the only person in that room or in that group, or the first person to come through, that they need to feel welcomed and embraced in that place. Doesn't mean that everybody has to sing a song for each person, but at least one or two people should be looking out, mentoring them, showing them the ropes. So that is a challenge, but it's not impossible if people actually do have the conversation about it and realize that if we all want this particular goal, there's a way to get there. Collaboration is necessary, and there are organizations. Yolande is a part of, her husband is actually the pastor at one of the leading churches, Black churches here in town. We would certainly help you in reaching out to the churches, the pastors, but also leaders within inside those congregations too. Whether they become a part of your PTO or not isn't the point, but are they prepared as influencers to inspire someone else in their congregation to stand up and to be a part of this, to help them navigate the process of taking on a leadership role in a PTO. There are African-American sororities and fraternities, and some of those individuals would be excellent PTO members, but even more than that, they can influence other people to join. And so that putting that word out that we're going to do this type of work and having them join in would be of, I would think, of some benefit. There are other civic organizations as well. And so spreading the word, but before that word is spread, the PTOs, the PT Council needs to decide, is this something we want to do? And how do we want to go about it? In an intentional way, just the way you changed your bylaws, just the way you came up with an assessment tool. Before you start to act on this, have that conversation about how do we go about doing this and how do we go about creating a sense of belonging inside our organizations that welcome people to come in. And then you have to just sort of persevere. Just stick to it over and over and over again. So with that, I'm prepared to take any questions or hear any comments or what have you. I see one of our assistant superintendents is here, Dr. Della Flora. So it's always enjoyable to have you at any meeting.
I do want to just correct
Mhm.
one thing. I did not come up with that checklist. That is from Beyond the Bake Sale, and actually Lauren Scopaz Donay sent that to me, and she's on here, so I have to give her
Yep.
credit for finding that and sending that to me. I did put that in the chat, so if anybody wants to take a look at that, and I think it really, like, something like that requires honesty. And a PTO could say, oh yeah, we're doing that fine, we're doing that fine, and and not really consider what's really going on. So it could be a checklist where there's not much that's getting done, or it could be a checklist where there's real kind of introspection and honest kind of looking inside at what's really going on. So it can be used for just saying we're checking our boxes off, or it could be used for something really meaningful.
Sometimes people are afraid of doing those types of assessments because they already know what they think the answer is going to be, and so they don't want to have it officially tallied. But the best way to be your own best friend with this effort is to actually do it and understand what it is, and to realize that it does not need to be perfect, but there's plenty of room to be aspirational for all of us in this work.
Paula, did you
Yeah.
have a question? I think, did you have your hand raised, or that was just I just saw that you did, but it's fine. No, just wanted to make sure.
I did have my
no
hand
problem.
raised because I was just going to make a comment, not really a question.
Please do, please.
Is it Diana and Judy? Thank you for sharing your story. It's absolutely wonderful, and that we are having this discussion. I have always been a part of a PTO or a PTA, and I've always made it known that I am willing to volunteer and help and do whatever it is that I can to help the organization, the PTO. Maybe I was just a lucky one, because so far every PTO or PTA I've ever joined, were very, inclusive, were very welcoming. So, it's unfortunate that, that there are PTOs out there, or, at the time too, it could be who the president is, who that person is, who's running the PTO. It could be who they are as a person, right? But I do know that when I'm on the board or any of those activities and I'm volunteering, I'm always trying to encourage anyone from any race to join the PTO. I would even tell them, just an hour of your time, just come, and join us. And, I always do. And I guess it could be my personality, and it seems like it works, and I'll get them to come and they'll volunteer, because sometimes we just need, volunteers to help with things. But I do understand, though, it is very hard to get people to, participate. And it could be these reasons that Diana and, Judy has, discussed and put out there. So I'm hopefully that, the PTO presidents and, co-chair of any of the committees will, take these things into consideration and, start making some changes, and, and hopefully, we'll have, the PTOs will, start being more inclusive and represent, the school, the schools better. That's all I wanted to say. I'm sorry.
Thank you. So tell me, is it possible that at the PTO level or at the PTO president's level that people would come together and have a conversation around how do we increase, encourage, and get an opportunity to retain more participation by, as Jennifer said, a diverse group that is more representative of our school district. Is it possible to have that conversation? Do you believe?
Is that directed
It's-
generally or just at
Yeah,
some
it's directed
chance?
generally. Mhm.
Linda, do you want to?
Linda has her hand up.
Oh, Linda, go.
I think it is.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it is, but I think we can't miss the opportunity to ask the people who we want to involve, how can we help you be involved, right? Because I think sometimes we think we know what barriers are or what are preventing people. So I think those honest conversations don't just need to happen among the people who already have a seat at the table, but need to include people who don't have a seat at the table and find out what their feelings are, what their perspectives are, where their stories are in order for us to make real change. So, you know, I think we can start the conversation among ourselves, but we also need to reach out to the community and be willing to have those conversations with them so that the changes that we are making are truly the changes that they want to see, not the ones that we want to see necessarily. And I don't know if that makes sense or not. So,
Well, it absolutely does. It absolutely does to invite them to the table. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, I mean, I'm a Latina, you know, and I'm a PTO president, you know, and, you know, I've sat on a board for 3 years, and I just was willing to get past my own discomfort to say, I believe in a mission. I believe in what we're doing. I believe, you know, and I've also tried, you know, to do the work of reaching out and asking other members, you know, like our school particularly has a Latino group, and going to them and saying like, what do you need from me? Not what do I need from you, but what do you need from me to make it easier? How do you want to participate? How can I do it? And I'm going to tell you that a lot of parents said to me, you're the first PTO president who's ever come to our meetings to ask us those things. You know, so that's why I think it's important to ask the people who we want to involve what it is that they need from us.
You're absolutely correct, Linda, that you need to do that. But my caution is that you also need to make sure that the people who are at the table with you and the various PTOs around the city, that they have that type of feeling that they're prepared to go and ask people that. Because if you're not prepared to do that, you're going to stumble over yourself and you're going to say some things that later on people will regret. So that's why it's important to have that conversation, to say, look, this is the reason we want to do this, or these are some of the reasons why we believe we want to do this, and be prepared to approach people in much a similar way that you did. How do people join? They join because somebody asked them. They've been invited in. And that invitation isn't just with one occasion, but it may be several opportunities. If I hear that message, we'd really like to have you join the PTO, and I've heard it 3 or 4 times, maybe I start to believe that it's a genuine request, that they see something in me that I might be able to add. Someone else mentioned the idea that you also need to explain, what does a PTO do? And to have that information ready and at disposal, that people are saying a consistent message. This is what you can expect from being a member of the PTO, and how we might be able to work together. But we want to hear, what are the things you need, just as you've said. Okay.
And when you're hosting an event and you have this person as a volunteer only, that's a great opportunity for PTO members to discuss with them what the PTO does, what upcoming events they have. They can observe the person and say, this person will be great with the kids. This person would be great for a reading day. This person is so organized. Maybe they can organize an event for us or plan it out. And really take the time to observe the person and get to know the person. And in a sense, not the right word I want to use, but like you're grooming them, you're guiding them, you're teaching them how to get involved and what it looks like. Because through that venue, then they'll be more interested in joining the PTO and the diverse roles that you guys have.
Well, you already have some very, very good ideas. And I can tell that if you all were to get together and to think about this just a little bit more, you don't need very much more to begin that process. As I said before, I can assure you that there are others in this town who would be willing to collaborate, to tell that story. This is why we want to have more involvement on the PTOs across the city, and to have additional folk be champions of the work that you're doing right now, or that you want to do for the future. Yeah. So I'm inspired by just the idea that you all are thinking about it. And I said that at the very beginning, that you are thinking about it and that you're active in this particular way. I think it's important to do, and I applaud you for your work so far.
Thank you. I mean, I know it's not, there's no end to this. It's an ongoing conversation that, I feel like some things that have really helped me or confirmed some of the things I felt, but maybe I want to say a little bit brought to light some things I hadn't considered, was listening to the Nice White Parents podcast. That was really helpful. For those of us who, have really good intentions, but don't realize sometimes, what we're doing when we're coming into schools and wanting to, do great things for everybody without considering what everybody wants for their kids. And, I think definitely what Amy said about wanting a diverse group of parents on the board, because we really want to know what parents want for their children and don't want to, be the only decision makers on how we're spending and raising money for the schools. That's a huge responsibility, and it should be, I would hope, divided equally, so that everyone has a say in what our children get to do. I have certain ideas about what I think everybody should learn, but I'm just one person, or have one perspective,
Well, the sad part about it is that, 25 years ago, 20 years ago, the position that you've just mentioned here wasn't even thought of. We absolutely, or at least there are Black families across the city who felt as though the PTOs decided what they were going to do, and they just didn't really care about anybody else. It was a special club. And so that you must understand, if people felt as though it was a special club of a special group of people, that it takes some time for people to realize that, no, this is not the same place, not the same ideas that were present at that time, and that people are moving forward in a very different way, decidedly so.
Yeah, got to dismantle the PTOs before we can build them back up again or something. I don't know. Yeah, Diana's like, yeah.
Yeah, you do. I'm sad to say it. And I've had many roles. I've been room mom and a corresponding secretary and translator and co-president and, God knows what else I've done in my volunteer time. And yeah, it needs to be broken up, and maybe even an evaluation be given to them, and make sure that there's no unconscious bias being a part of meetings or conversations. Well, by the time I left, I thought I was in the Bad Moms movie. And it shouldn't be like that, especially when you're volunteering, right? You're taking time away. As many as I'm a single mom of 3, and I need to work, right? And I would take time away outside from participating in classroom events or field days. I wanted to be engaged. I wanted to volunteer. I wanted to be there and to be met that way, and had to deal with many things that I dealt with that, I won't share here because it is in the past. But no one, It doesn't matter what race you are. No one should experience that ever, whether it's a paying gig or whether it's volunteer work. If we're all about the kids and we're about offering them enrichment programs, if we're here asking parents to give $30 every school year and pizza and bingo, and where is that money being allocated, right? Is it sitting in a bank collecting a cent? Or is it being reintroduced into the school, into the classroom? What budget are we giving the teachers? What budget are we doing for enrichment? Are we reaching out to new programs? If it's about the kids, then yes, it needs to be broken up. We need to really, in a sense, do a little application, give me a background. Why do you want to join, or small description? So you get the true essence of why people are there. And listen, I love that the majority of PTOs are moms that are stay at home, right? I love that, right? They have the time and the opportunity to do it. They're really involved. I love that. But also open up, like Judy has said, with the timing of the events and the timing of meetings, open that up so that you can meet everybody's individual needs when it comes with timing. But, and I've volunteered at a lot of PTOs. I'm not sitting here saying it's all of them. I haven't been to all the schools, thankfully. But it is important that we do look at the individual first and what their desires are for joining it. And if it's for a pastime, then they need to go. If it's for hanging out and having another title, bye. Are we here for the kids? What brings you here? And evaluate that and do that periodically, maybe every 6 months, maybe have somebody come in advisory capacity, right? Where they're overseeing and they're seeing stuff. Linda had shared that she had met with her Hispanic parent group. That is a great link, a whole slew of people. At Roxbury, we have more than 30 members and they attend. We have more people attending those meetings than we do the PTO meetings. And it's a great group. They're dedicated, they're interested, and they do volunteer, but they also need to feel welcome once they're there. So I applaud Linda for doing that and involving people out of pure interest, not this, let me fill up this seat, but pure interest. Hey, come, you should be with us and be a part of that. And maybe add a new role to the PTO that has to do with engagement. Let's say a parent shows up at a movie night, bingo night, whatever it is, you have one of your PTO members greet them. Be the greeter. Hi, how are you? And go around and don't spend too much time with your friends. Go out there and meet people that you've never met. And they might need to be charismatic and extrovert and really outgoing and inviting. But maybe that's a new role that we need to assign within the PTO as well. And that'll go well.
Yes, Amy.
There have been some comments about this in the chat, and it kind of follows on what Diana was just saying. Language barrier is, very much an issue, I think, sometimes. And, if no one on your PTO board is bilingual, it's very hard to reach out to the members of the community that English is not their first language. And there are multiple languages in the school. So it's not even like you can just say, oh, well, we'll find someone who speaks Spanish. Like that's not the only, that's not the only language barrier that we have. So does anybody have advice for us on how we can be better about that? I'm hearing these comments about the Hispanic parents groups or whatever. I'm not sure that we have that at our school. If we do, it can't be particularly active. So I guess I need to follow up on that. But does anybody have good advice for us on what else we can do to reach those parents if we don't speak the same language?
Your
literally?
Parent facilitator.
Well, that's, newly being full-time, hopefully there's going to be some real progress with that, but
Yes.
you know, we didn't used to have that. You know, we had a
Okay.
para that jumped in when someone needed a translation in the main office. Like that's not really a parent facilitator. So anyway,
Okay, but
I
you
step
have
off
one now?
there. We do
I
now.
have-
Yes, we do.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then that will be very helpful, and believe me, there are parents, even if they speak minimal the language, the minute they say, I want to volunteer, forget about language. You go, hi, welcome, like we understand that. Thank you for coming. And then instead of giving these long directions, speak slowly, do bullets, like this is the station, this is what we're going to do here, and not in a belittling way, just in an educational way. Very speak slowly, guide them. Go, if you have any questions, you can reach me, or here's my number in case the PTO member has to be in a different station or area. That's it, because the volunteer roles aren't that difficult. They're pretty easy to do. So it's just about simplifying that. Another thing that's helpful is with Roxbury, we created I'm no longer part of the PTO, something that was done before, but we did a list of the descriptions for a rude parent and a brief description of what people needed to do at events. That's helpful if you can get that pre-translated, right? And have it handed out to the parent ahead of time. Or you give it to them that day. So you don't have to worry about a translator, right? You already have the document at hand. And, you know, gratefully with the Google Translate, we could do a lot of different languages. Stanford Public School System on the website has the translation as well. If you guys can have that same link individually at the school website, this is the event, these are the responsibility. All the person has to do is click translate, and they know, so they come in ahead of time. Like don't let communication barriers really hold you back from doing this. That can be simplified. And I'm telling you, if you treat people with a warm smile, and I know we can't hug each other, but you know, have that warm embrace feeling, we'll do it. We'll do what you want us to do, right? We're there for our kids. We're there to support the school. And obviously, people that are on the PTO know what a huge improvement there is within the student, seeing mom or dad there, how that changes their psyche, how they changes them emotionally, like, oh, you're coming later, I'll see you later. Or even I used to do lunch bunch. I used to sit in the cafeteria. It wasn't a job, I just made it up and went there. But that excites the kids, not only our child, but other children who go, oh, I know that mom. And that's what creates community and connection. So there are tools to come over that language barrier, but anybody can understand. If they're volunteering, they understand the language. They just might, when it comes to Haitian Creole or his Spanish speaking person, we're there, we're willing, we understand, we could respond, and we're comfortable in that setting.
Jenny, did you raise your hand? Was there something you wanted to say?
Yes, thank you. First, I have to thank you to Mr. Cleto for inviting me. And I have to say thank you also to Judy and Diana and Miss Linda, because sometimes it's like we feel shy. And by the way, I'm Hispanic. And sometimes we feel shy to speak because our first language is not English, but we are very willing to help, to be volunteer. Like Mrs. Diana said, sometimes when you speak a little slowly, we can understand, but at the same time, we're doing our best to try to learn this language. And also right now, the district are been working so hard during the last months. So also they having training about technology, about the platforms the district are using in the distant learning in the COVID pandemic. So, and also I just realized it's a good also app. It calls Reminder. I was learning that. That is an amazing app. I was wondering if all the teachers and all the parents can learn about this app. Even it's gonna help with the language barrier, because if I don't speak enough English, I can put my message in my own language and I can choose the language to send to the another people. The another side can send me in their language, but I'm gonna get in my own language. So it's gonna help in some way. So the point is to try to find what we can do. Sometimes also the body language help us a lot. But like I say, as me, outside are many parents who are willing to help. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And yeah, thank you for all you do too. Thank you.
Well, I think Diana has offered a long list of ideas that any one of them would be worth spending some time in a meeting and figuring it out. But that's the good thing about it. This is a challenge that it is possible to achieve your goals. And that you all are committed to doing that. I'm hoping that that's the case with this group, but that you're prepared to spread that word with the other PTOs to make sure that it happens. This is a wonderful opportunity for Stanford to lean forward on truly going out in a genuine way, attempting to entice others to be involved in a way that is important, not only for the PTO, but for their children and for their own participation in the city. So kudos to you all for beginning the work. I'm hoping that we can assist in any way to help you continue with it. I believe some of the conversation around the idea of how do we speak to one another, there are some cultural things. I don't know what you have on your plate or on your plans, but certainly it's always wise to bring people together for different types of trainings. One of them for family members, for individuals, for parents, is to be involved in some type of implicit bias training. I think maybe some of you are probably aware of that conversation ensures that everybody has a common language and is prepared to understand, at least be aware of some of the things that we all do and we all say, but how that may sound or how it might detract from the efforts that we're trying to make to heal and to work with one another.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, everybody, for participating in this really eye-opening conversation. I think you've given us a lot of things to think about and a lot of work to do. But that's good. We've got a lot of action items to follow through with, and my hope is that as PT Council, we can set an example for the PTOs in Stanford. If we can start with these baby steps, then hopefully the PTOs can follow in step. And hopefully, I like the idea. Dana was talking about kind of these. When you were talking, it got me thinking about how when I was in academia, we would always have these outside reviewers for departments. They would do these assessments where people would come in and look at how the department was running and everything. And I think that would be really helpful for PTOs to see, what's working, what could be working better, how healthy is this PTO? Is there a good turnover? Or, is one person just, in the position for the whole time? That, by the way, I will, tell everybody that I don't think that's healthy. You want people to be coming in and feeling like they can contribute. So, these are really great ideas that, I'm not going to be president next year, but, Zareen can help, can think about. And I definitely want to start off the year talking about how to be more welcoming at PTO events and meetings. maybe we were putting the cart before the horse here, but I thought, just given the time of year, this was a good discussion to have about the executive boards. And then, at the beginning of the year, we could talk about being a more welcoming group, but I don't get to decide what we're doing next year. So I can only suggest. But again, thank you to Michael and to Diana. I really appreciate your insights and having you here. To kind of move ahead, we've got about 10 minutes left. I do want to show you, we have a number of positions that are open next year if you want to work with Zareen. And let's see who else is going to still be on. Paul, I believe, is going to continue on, and Jackie Lateef Scully, who's not here tonight because she's doing PLTI. She's busy, but you've got some great people to join. We are working on finding people to fill a number of different positions. I'm gonna let's see. I'm gonna try to find my document that has all of the positions so that I can post it.
And while Jennifer looks for that, I want to remind everybody that Jennifer is still going to be very much present next year. It's not that you're going anywhere. So very much part of the community still. So.
Yes, I will be here. Okay, I'm going to share.
Jenny has her hand raised while you're looking for that, Jennifer, and you can maybe post it in the chat. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. And I was checking just the chat, and they say can be contact to the One Building community, and can be a great idea because as a parents, also Miss Judy Cleto and I, we are part of the member committee. Are members of the Power Committee. So for us, it's very important to help about the education. So if we can do something to help in the better way, just please let us know. And again, we're here to help. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. I know where to find you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen for a second just so I can go over the list of positions that we have available. If anything kind of piques your interest, or if you think of anybody who might be interested. Here we go. Okay, share. You see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we are looking for a lot of positions. There's a lot of opportunity here. Junior co-president, and the way that works is you come in, you fill the junior co-president position, you learn how everything works, and then the next year you become the senior co-president. So there's a year where you get to kind of apprentice or do as much as you want, learning and supporting Zareen as she takes on the role that I have, and then you get to do this wonderful job. Hopefully it will be in person by the time you're doing it, because this has been
fingers crossed.
Co-treasurer, so Paula hopefully will still be here and she can show you the ropes. It's pretty simple. We don't have a lot of expenses. We pretty much just pay for insurance. We pay for somebody to help maintain our website, and then we pay for scholarships. So it's just a matter of collecting dues and scholarship money from our member PTOs, and then paying those bills. First co-vice president. So Jackie is going to continue in that role, which is great because she has done it before and can show the second co-vice or the other first co-vice president how to do it. But that person is responsible for organizing the Board of Ed. I can't think of the word now. I'm sorry.
Candidates Forum.
The Candidates Forum. Thank
Yes.
you. So that happens in October. So it's kind of a whirlwind in the fall where you invite the candidates who are running for Board of Ed to come speak at our Candidates Forum, and you organize that pretty pretty simple, but Jackie can walk anybody through it. The second vice president, we can have one or two. They run our president's meetings, which unfortunately we haven't been able to do this year, but usually we like to have one or two meetings a year just with PTO presidents to talk about common issues or problems. We could have a meeting about the things that we discussed today. So, it could be a theme, or it could be just a, general, kind of sharing best practices or something like that. But the second vice presidents organize those meetings. Corresponding secretary is responsible for maintaining our email list, the list of all of our, all of the PTO representatives to PT Council, and then sends the newsletters out. But generally, Zareen will be organizing the newsletters with her co-president, probably with some help from me. Yes.
Lots of help from you, Jennifer. Yes, you're not going anywhere, like I said.
And then the recording secretary takes notes at our meetings and publishes the minutes. That's, so it's pretty much a very that's how I got roped into all of this. So it's, it's a very small kind of role, but you never know where it's going to lead. So just, keep that in mind. Two things. I would like to invite volunteers to join the nominating committee to help us find or suggest people for these roles. So if anybody is interested in doing that, if you want to put your name in the chat, or just in the chat, let me know that you want to be on the nominating committee. That would be great. And then if you want to, if you're interested in any of these positions, why don't you email me at what's the PT Council?
PT Council of Stamford at gmail.com.
PT Council.
I'll put it in the chat. Let me put it in the chat.
Thank you. I'm just done for the day. This is what happens to me at 9 o'clock. I just turn off. So you're all witnessing that. Lucky me. So anyway,
you're doing fabulous, Jennifer. Really.
Thank you. I am just punchy right now. So any questions about these positions? Did we get any volunteers for the nominating committee?
Everyone can mute and unmute themselves if they want to tell us if they're interested, or you can leave the info in the chat, whichever way you please. We hope.
It'll be nice if you guys could do the job title with a small description and maybe email the people that are participating in this event, so that in their leisure, they can go over it and see what's the best fit for them.
Okay.
That is a nice idea. And I will say this as the recording secretary. If you're going to be participating and listening in these meetings anyway, this will, essentially all you're doing is, noting what is going on. So it's a way to just be even more engaged with the material that is being discussed. So it's a relatively small role.
Yeah, and other than that, the executive board meets once or twice a year outside of that. We met once this summer. I think we're going to meet once again, just to discuss our kind of to do a follow-up to our Stanford Stands Against Racism work as a board, but yeah. So, we've got two asks right now. Number one, if there's a position you're interested in, and Diana, yes, we will send out do you get our emails?
I don't know if I get your emails anymore, but you do have my email address. If you could send it there, I'll appreciate it.
Okay. Because I'll probably just send it out to the list that we usually send our emails out to, but I'll make sure we send it to you as well.
Thank
If anybody else who's not on our list, just put your name in the chat or your email address in the chat, and I'll make sure that we send it to you as well. And then the other ask is if you are interested in joining us on the nominating committee, and that is looking for people to fill these positions. If you think you know great people, if you think you know great people who could provide different perspectives that we might not have had before on the board, that can help us think about things in different ways to help us make us stronger and better at what we're doing, we would appreciate it. So anybody's welcome who's a parent, I guess, or a teacher in the Stanford Public Schools. Nope. All right. Well, you can always email me. I'm around. Well, it is the end of our meeting. Thank you all so much for being here and participating in this really great conversation. And good luck with the rest of the month.
Thank you, everybody. This was wonderful and very productive. We're very happy to see all of you.
Thank you.
This was great, guys. Jennifer, go rest. You have been.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Good job, everybody.
This is
Thank
great.
you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Everyone.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Jennifer. And nice meeting you,
Thank
Sarah.
you, and good night.
Thank you.
Meeting you too, Michael.
All
Nice
right.
meeting you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm just writing stuff down. Okay, how do I stop our?
Hang on, but that's what I wanted to tell you. When you hit first, I want you. No, let me just.
So live on Facebook.
Let
stop
me
live stream. No.
let me call. Yes, let me call you for this because this is all being recorded. I'm gonna.
Okay.
I'm ending the Zoom call now. Okay. Wait, hang on.